Your income isn't the problem. I know. That sounds wrong. You're sitting there thinking, I've been at the same salary for 3 years. My rent went up. My groceries went up. My everything went up. How is my income not the problem? And I hear you. I really do. But stick with me for 2 minutes because I want to show you something that's going to reframe this entire conversation. The financial advice world has one answer for every problem: earn more. Side hustle. Negotiate your raise, start a business, and sure, that advice is fine if it's available to you. But what about the teacher locked into a pay scale? The nurse on a union contract? The person who just can't take on more work right now because life won't allow it? Everyone says just make more money, like that's a button you press. Here's what that advice misses. Wealth isn't built on income. It's built on the gap between what comes in and what stays. And that gap, you can move it. Even when the left side is fixed. That's what this video is about. How to actually build wealth when your income isn't going anywhere, and why most people with fixed incomes are broke because of their salary. They're broke because of 3 very fixable things. My name is Joseph, and I spend a lot of time thinking about money for people who feel like they're out of options. If that's where you're at, subscribe and stay with me, because in a minute I'm going to show you the math on 2 people. One earning $42,000, one earning $70,000, and why the person earning less ends up with more after 10 years. It's not magic, it's a rate problem. Here's the most common thing I hear from people on fixed incomes. I've already cut everything I can cut. And when they say that, they mean it. They canceled Netflix. They stopped going out. They brew coffee at home. They feel squeezed. But here's what most people don't realize. There's a difference between cutting visible things and fixing actual leaks. A visible cut is dramatic. It feels like sacrifice. A leak is quiet. You don't feel it leaving. And leaks are where fixed income earners lose the most money. What actually is a leak? It's money leaving your account on autopilot for something that's not doing much for your life right now. Let me give you some real examples. Insurance premiums you've never renegotiated. The average person hasn't called their car insurance provider in over 2 years. Rate shift. Competitors change. A 20-minute call can save $30 to $80 a month, and I've seen it save more. Subscription creep. Not just streaming. Paid app tiers, cloud storage plans, gym memberships that rolled over from 2 goals ago. You signed up with intention. Life changed. The charge didn't. Convenient spending that feels like a necessity. This one's sneaky because it's emotionally justified. You're tired, you're busy, you're stressed. Of course you ordered food instead of cooking on a Wednesday night, but if that's happening 3 times a week, you're spending $150 to $250 a month on the decision not to decide. That's not a judgment. It's just a number, and it's a number you can change. Here's the real math. If you find $80 a month in leaks, just $80 and $960 a year, invested consistently at a 7% return, that's over $13,000 in 10 years. For money you were already spending and didn't even notice. I know $80 sounds small. It's not small. On a fixed income, $80 is meaningful. $80 redirected is the beginning of something. So step 1 isn't dramatic. Go through your last 60 days of bank and card statements, mark every recurring charge. Ask yourself, if this disappeared tomorrow, would I notice? If the answer is no, it goes. You might be thinking, okay, leaks, got it. That's the budgeting video I've already seen. But what comes next is different, because we're not talking about budgeting, we're talking about a ratio. And this ratio is the thing that actually separates people who build wealth on a fixed income from people who don't. Most people think about their finances in dollars. I have $2,400 left after bills. I saved $200 this month. The problem with thinking in dollars is that dollars feel absolute. Fixed. Like you can't do much with what you have. Savings rate is different. Savings rate is a percentage. And percentages are things you can actually move. Here's the target. 15% of your take-home income saved and invested. Not all at once, not immediately. But that's the number that over time builds real wealth regardless of what your income is. Now let's look at what that actually means. Say you take home $2,800 a month after taxes. 15% is $420. If that number sounds impossible right now, I hear you. So let's back up. Where are you today? If you're saving 3%, that's $84 a month. Okay, the goal is not to get to $420 overnight. The goal is to get to 5%, then 8%, then 12%, then 15%. Each percentage point you move is compounding. Each one accelerates the next. Here's something the savings rate conversation almost never includes, and it should. The rate matters more than the income. Let me show you why. Person A earns $70,000 a year and saves 5%. That's $30,500 a year invested. Person B earns $42,000 a year and saves 15%. That's $6,300 a year invested. Person B is investing 80% more per year and $28,000 less income. After 20 years, assuming the same market returns, person B is roughly double. Different rate, not different income. The reason nobody tells you this is that it's uncomfortable. It requires you to be honest about the gap between what you earn and what you keep. But it's also genuinely freeing because it means you have more control than you think. Let me tell you about someone I'll call Daniel. He's going to make this concrete. Daniel is a public school teacher. He's been at the same base salary for 4 years, $41,500. He's got 2 kids, a reasonable mortgage, and basically no margin. For a long time, he told himself the same thing most people on a fixed income tell themselves: I'll start investing when I have more to invest, which is a sentence that sounds responsible, but is actually just delay dressed up as wisdom. Here's what changed for Daniel. He did one thing. He ran the actual numbers. He figured out that if he found $200 a month, $200, not $2,000, not some big raise, and invested it consistently for 25 years at a 7% return, he'd end up with about $162,000. $200 a month, 25 years, $162,000. He found $200 by doing 2 things. He canceled a gym membership he hadn't used in 9 months, and he renegotiated his internet plan. That was it. 200 freed, not cut from anything. Freed from things that weren't working for him anyway. He set up an automatic transfer into a low-cost index fund the day his paycheck hit. He didn't look at it. He didn't try to time the market. He just let it go. 3 years later, his portfolio isn't massive. But it's there. It's real. And he told me the thing that stuck. It's not the balance. It's the fact that I stopped waiting for permission to start. That's the thing. That's the whole thing. You don't need to earn more to start building wealth. You need the money you already have to start working while you sleep. And that brings me to the piece nobody talks about. Because the math isn't actually the hard part. The math is just math. The hard part is the story you've been carrying. Here's the real reason fixed income earners stay stuck. And I want to say this carefully, because I'm not pointing fingers. When you've been told directly or indirectly that wealth is for people who make more than you, when every investing ad shows someone with a $500,000 portfolio making decisions, you start to believe it. You start to believe that building wealth is a different game played by different people with different numbers. And so you stop engaging with it. That belief is the most expensive thing you own. Because this was never about income. Wealth is a behavior, not a salary bracket. A teacher who saves 15% of $41,500 is doing something that a marketing director saving 4% of $90,000 is not doing. The teacher is building. The marketing director is not. So here's what I actually want you to take from this video. It's not a hack. It's not a trick. It's a reframe. You're not waiting for more money so you can start. You start so that the money you have can grow into more. The gap between those 2 sentences is the gap between the next 10 years being the same and the next 10 years being different. Your income is fixed. Your rate isn't. Your leaks aren't. Your timeline isn't. Those are yours to move. Go pull up your bank statements. Find one leak. Move $25 into a separate account this week. Not because $25 is the point. Because starting is the point. He started and then he had money. Comment below and tell me what your one leak is. The subscription, the charge, the thing you forgot you were paying for. Say it out loud. Because naming it makes it real. And real things you can actually fix. If you want more of this, honest, practical, no fluff, subscribe. Because your income might be fixed, but what you do with it isn't.